Hello everyone, welcome to Anthropology 101, Introduction to Biological Anthropology. Today's lecture is going to be a little bit of a review of the reading you had last week. So anthropology, what is anthropology? Well, anthropology is the study of people. The word itself actually comes from ancient Greek, from anthropos, meaning man or human, and logia, meaning the study or branch of learning. So in anthropology, we get to do something really cool. We get to explore what it is to be human. And what is it exactly to be human? Well, let's start off with a combination of 6 attributes. First one being bipedalism. Bipedalism is the ability to walk on 2 feet. Now, although many species can walk on 2 feet, maybe for short periods of time, we are one of the few that does it habitually in that we do it all the time. Second one is non-honing chewing. What is non-honing chewing? Well, a better way to describe non-honing chewing would be to describe honing chewing. And what honing chewing is when there is a large large canine, and this canine on the maxilla, or the upper jaw, comes and rests on the mandible, or the lower jaw. And when this happens, it hones itself on the bottom teeth. And this is called honing chewing. We humans do not have this. We don't have this large incisor. Thus, we have non-honing chewing. All right, moving on. Speech. Now, speech is one of those things that we thought was uniquely human until just a little bit ago. We've discovered that other animals communicate vocally, and some, such as dolphins or whales, have different dialects and even names for each other. Hunting. Well, hunting is something that many different species do. Any predatory animal hunts. Humans are unique in that we use tools as well as strategy to hunt. Domesticated foods. We have found a way to domesticate plants and animals in order to help us with our food resources. And this is one of those attributes that's very uniquely human as well. And lastly, material culture and tools. Material culture and tools, again, was one of those attributes that we thought were uniquely human until recently, where we've seen other animals in nature also using tools. Here I would refer you to one of the videos below, the TED Talk called The Intelligence of Crows, where it shows a crow using and manipulating tools in order to access food. It's quite interesting. All right, moving on. One of the cool things about anthropology is in our endeavor to figure out what human is, we have drawn from many other disciplines. We draw from biology, we draw from geology, we draw from geography, from psychology, from sociology, and we bring this interdisciplinary approach where we get a little bit out of every discipline, bring it together in this holistic field of anthropology in order to figure out what it is to be human. Particularly in the US, we've actually divided anthropology up into 4 fields. This is called the 4-field approach of anthropology, and it's very much indicative of American anthropology. So the 4 subfields of anthropology are cultural anthropology, archaeology, linguistical anthropology, and what this class is going to focus on, biological anthropology. Let's go ahead and explore these 4 fields. Let's start with cultural anthropology. Cultural anthropology is a study of human culture. Go figure. So what does the study of human culture entail? Well, it entails rituals, myths, and diets. What I mean by rituals is everything you did this morning, from how you brush your teeth, to the clothes you wore, to taking a shower, to listening to music. All these rituals are culturally learned. Myths, when we talk about myths in culture anthropology, we refer to stories that help us understand the world around us. And of course, as you are pretty well aware, diet is a huge part of culture, where you can see diet shift from going to different cultures. We explore different cultures in the US, having Mexican food or Italian food or Chinese food. All these cultural background diets are really fun, actually. And patterns of behavior. Well, patterns of behavior is something, again, as far as rituals, everything that you do kind of has a pattern. The way you go to school, whether or not you go to school, what you learn, the fact that you're sitting here right now in an online course. These are all culturally driven. As well as political organizations of different societies and social organizations. How do they decide who's going to be on a higher level or on a lower level, or whether or not there is any social stratification in a culture. Now, the way that culture anthropologists extract the knowledge they gain from cultures is they conduct what we call ethnographies. Ethnography is a detailed exploration of culture. Sometimes this culture can be other cultures, In more recent years, it has become more popular to look at our own culture or culture from where you come from and conduct ethnography there. We'll come back to cultural anthropology a little later on. Let's move on. Linguistical anthropology. Now, linguistical anthropology is the study of human language and speech. Part of several things that linguistical anthropologists do is record dying languages. This helps understand certain cultures that are disappearing, how they may have looked at the world, what words they may have had for the world, which actually brings me down to this last point right in here. One of the more interesting things within linguistical anthropology is they explore the languages and words that people have for the world around them and explore how this actually shapes the view people have of the world around them. If any of you out there are bilingual, I'm sure you've run across moments where there's a word or a phrase in one language where you can't quite express or translate into another language. Another thing that linguistical anthropologists do is they look at grouping language families. And by doing this, by looking at similarities between different languages, you can actually track migrations of people, where people come from, where people have gone. And you can do this just by looking at the different words and different grammar styles and different lexicon or vernacular a certain culture has compared to another one. All right, moving on. Archaeology. Archaeology studies patterns of behavior, very much like cultural anthropology, except that archaeology uses material records left behind by past cultures. So, one of the more popular searches of archaeology is trash left behind by cultures that have been thousands, hundreds of years gone. And by looking at this material record left behind, archaeologists try to assemble and create what this culture may have viewed the world as, or how this culture may have lived, or the patterns they may have gone through. So archaeology is kind of cultural anthropology of the past. And this brings us to biological anthropology, what we're going to be focusing on in this class. Biological anthropology and physical anthropology are basically synonymous. They can be traded out. And what biological anthropology focuses on is the study of human biological evolution, as well as human biocultural variation. So we look at humans past as well as present, look at their biology, look at their evolution, and try to figure out where we are, where we have been, and where we're going. We also use a study of our closest living relatives, or primates, to do this. So a big subfield of called biological anthropology is primatology. Actually, let's talk about the subfields real quick. So several of the subfields of biological anthropology are paleoanthropology, which means ancient anthropology, where we look at human evolution, which we're going to in the next few weeks, primatology, so the study of our non-human relatives, primates, and skeletal biology, where we look at the osteology or the skeletal composition of humans and try to figure out how they lived. So let's look at these in just a little bit more detail. Paleoanthropology and human evolution. This looks at primate human evolution, and in order to do this, you have to understand the environment in which these primates or these ancient humans lived. So you'd have to have not only a biological background, but a geological background. So this is, again, back into that interdisciplinary concept of anthropology. So you have to be able to draw from other disciplines, looking at geology, understanding what the world may have been looking like thousands of years ago, because it doesn't really look the same anymore. So in paleoanthropology, we deal with the theory of evolution on how species have changed, namely our species or our family has changed, and we look at the origin of human species. In primatology, so our closest closest living relatives, primates, we look at anatomy, we look at their behavior, we look at their ecology, how they deal with their environment, as well as their evolution and origins. And hopefully by doing this, we gain a little bit of knowledge about our own evolutionary process. Not only our own evolutionary process, but the process of evolution in general. And we have skeletal biology. Skeletal biology can be broken down into osteology, which is just the study of the human skeleton to try to figure out how someone lived by looking at their bones. Paleopathology, which is the study of ancient disease, looking how disease and culture have interacted for the last thousands, if not millions of years with people. And taking all this knowledge about learning how the human skeleton is affected by the lives of people, we can also apply this knowledge to a modern setting, and a big branch of skeletal biology or biological anthropology is forensic anthropology. All right, this is going to conclude our first lecture. I hope you have a little bit of an understanding of the four fields of anthropology and what anthropology is.